Hello, welcome to Let's Play Radiant Dawn. I'm USS Gordon, Captain. This time is going to be some 0%. So 0%, a little bit special, because previous best strats used Volug, and I'm here to demonstrate some Zihark oriented strats in 0% for late game Dawn Brigade. Here we learn that I'm really bad at. So Zihark's loadout is Wrath Cancel. Cancel is nice because it means that sometimes he'll be able to cancel someone from attacking him, and Wrath will let him get some crits, kill various enemies if he gets lucky. Volug has Guard, which I'm very unsure about how good Guard is clear. I'm told it has some decent impact, but the actual change in hit rates, and also seemingly Guard attack, something different happens. That's something I'm very unsure about, like Guard or something else. Another consideration for Volug would be to have Volug actually just like absorb hits as sort of an HP battery for Zihark. Just have him transform where I put the Shine Barrier and sit there absorbing one attack at a time. One important thing is that Micaiah is actually one range short of being able to use her staff on turn 1 on Zihark's position. So in order to get her into position, normally you'd have to use, if Zihark doesn't dodge, you do is you give Micaiah a shove. So Zihark's positioning is put such that only he is able to be targeted, but there are 2 spaces for enemies to target him, so that if he fails to proc something, he'll be able to actually fight. So one annoying thing is not getting fast cam, and I think it's actually one of the worst parts of doing this playthrough is not getting fast cam. Really apologize for fast cam. So TAURONEO with a Speedwing and a Master Crown hits the magic doubling benchmark. However, Zihark actually also hits that magic doubling benchmark with a Master Crown. The difference is Zihark is kind of unreliable at one rounding things. So he wields the power of racism and gets to one round them abnormally. So then, Zihark's other opponents are all these like weak halberdiers. He needs to proc something. He has crits, he has adept procs, and he has Astra. All these can sort of come into play. Against generals, however, he has to crit them. So he can't proc just adept, fortunately, general. TAURONEO, on the other hand, has a pretty simple I just 1-2 things going on. There are exactly 2 enemies on the map, a Swordmaster and a Halberdier. That Zihark doesn't just, that TAURONEO just doesn't simply one round with a simple weapon. They don't let him get double him. The Halberdier is super annoying. I can't actually one round him at all reliably. So what I did is by putting Zihark in this position, the Halberdier is actually going to move up the ledge. And so TAURONEO will be able to just avoid the Halberdier entirely. There is unfortunately a really long enemy phase where enemies just die to your units with no actual gameplay. One of the reasons my rating is bad. So on the next enemy phase, TAURONEO will be able to use a Silver Lamp, the Brave Axe, that enemy Benyon Halberdier right there that just right is the Benyon Halberdier Touroneo stuck. So there we got to see our only use of Wrath. One thing to consider is if you can equip Zihark with the Vantage and Wrath and not just Wrath. Unfortunately, it appears that like Vantage is somewhat hard to get, so I decided to not give Zihark Vantage. Now you would think you'd be able to, use the Silver Lance to kill this guy. We actually need to use the Brave Axe because the Swordmaster is there. And can kill this Halberdier using the power of racism. Now we have 7 enemies that are going to be on Zihark's position on the next turn. Zihark needs dodges. Now, these enemies have about 34 displayed hit on Zihark. And so Zihark kind of wants some luck to dodge them. But with double Earth B support, he gets somewhat close. He can sometimes even hope to roll down. They roll down on Biorhythm, whatever. And as long as Zihark doesn't die, he's safe. He's alive. So you'd be surprised at what you can get away with Zihark's survival. Obviously, this is somewhat dubious to have Zihark's dodge tanking like this. Unlike before in 3.12, where there was very clear and obvious ways to keep Zihark alive. This is a lot more. Just hope that Zihark dodges some semi-dubious strats. I mean, it's been working so far, mostly because 2RN is a really balanced mechanic. But it won't work every time. You can definitely get completely destroyed. Vantage helps with this because it means that at the very end of the map, you have the opportunity to proc Vantage, and then if you have Vantage plus Wrath, you can proc Vantage a good 30% of the time, 34% of the time, then kill enemies with Wrath the vast majority of the time. So you don't actually end up with enemies that aren't dead killing you. So there's obviously somewhat dubious parts of that fight where he had to fight 7 enemies. The soldiers actually have almost no hit on him, but the promoted enemies can easily have 30 odd hit on it. Touroneo was given Imbue because in this part of the clear, Touroneo is actually going to need the Imbue so that he can walk down the mountains. Now we get to equip the Silver Lance since we no longer need it. Need the Brave Axe. The Silver Lance does just enough damage to let him one-round enemy halberdiers, but also has really good hit, unlike other high-hit weapons. You could also forge him a Steel Axe, or give a Steel Axe that forged for Jill to him, but I decided to just forge 2 Steel Swords. So clearing up the end of this map is sort of pretty easy. Turn 3, we move Touroneo down. This means that enemies will target Touroneo. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in Kieran's equipment. Kieran should only have a steel pole axe equipped. Unfortunately, or a actually should have a bronze axe equipped. Want to go truly optimal. But unfortunately, I left Kieran equipping a hand axe. Means that he'll attack Taurone at 2 range. Taurone won't be. This doesn't end up mattering because you typically have overkill amounts of combat, but it is something to. So we set the yellow P brigade to roam on the last turn of enemy phase. This is so that you can kill the Pegasus Knights that made it up top, and they are pretty decent at killing them since, unlike other player units, they actually have decent stats. And here I'm just calculating like what happens. For some reason I'm. So the P Yellow Brigade is going to come here and try to kill the Pegasus Knights. Realistically speaking, none of the other actions you take on this map matter, but this one does. And you can probably give the Itha Wind Sages over to Pegasus Knights by rescue dropping them with Jill. That would actually be a useful use for Jill on this map, because the Wind Sages have really quite good combat against the enemy Pegasus Knights, and the Pegasus Knights are sort of the most challenging enemy to fight anyway. Here, though, it didn't matter, and we. So Ziharks bulk is still, wildly sus on this phase, but you'd be but since a lot of the enemies actually act last in turn. Not very many. A lot of them don't, in fact, attack Zihark. There's Kieran being a jerk and having one range weapon. Those 3 remaining little wimps on the bottom are the running needs to kill. And that's 312 cleared turns. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.